City of Heroes, the superhero MMORPG that I have only heard good things about, and it's the game that I never got to play when it was first released. And I wasn't much of a superhero enjoyer growing up. I was more into wrestling than Batman and Superman, and to be honest with you, I didn't even know this game existed when it first came out. I mean, I was really into WoW around this time, so that's probably why. Now, after quitting WoW, I would constantly hear about how City of Heroes is such a good game. And not that long ago, I was having a conversation with one of my friends about MMORPGs, and if he wanted to join me in Guild Wars 2, since at the time I had never played it before. And we started to talk about other MMOs, like ones we have played and ones we haven't yet. Till he brought up City of Heroes, and all the fond memories he has with it. So because of that conversation, I thought it was finally time for me to check out City of Heroes, to see why everyone that has mentioned it to me before has only had good things to say about it. Now I was going to give you a big info dump, but I bet most of you guys don't give a shit about that. But I will say that City of Heroes Homecoming now runs under an official license that was granted to them by NCSoft in 2024. So they are now officially allowed to run the game and develop it as well, as long as they don't make money from it, of course. Anyways, let's move on to the character creator.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
Now, there are 6 servers, and I just picked the more popular one, which was Excelsior. Now, City of Heroes doesn't have races in a traditional MMORPG sense, like you would see in an MMO like WoW. You see in WoW, you have races like orcs, gnomes, night elves, and so on, that you pick before you pick your class. But the races in City of Heroes is kind of determined within the character creator. You will see what I mean in a little bit when I show you. Now, in City of Heroes, instead of picking a race, you pick a faction that you want to be in, or what your moral alignment is. Like Hero, which is the blue side, Villain, which is the red side, or you can pick a third option, the gold side, which means you're going rogue. I had no idea this was even an option when I first picked my character, and I ended up finding this out the hard way later on. Now the gold side is a bit different from Villain or Hero. You see, if you pick this option, you start off in a city called Pretoria, but it's in a parallel world. And Pretoria is kind of like North Korea. It's ran by a dictator that wants Pretoria to be seen as a utopia, but it's actually heavily surveillance and hides its oppression. Now, if you decide to go gold, you do get to pick whether or not you align with the Emperor, or if you join the resistance to fight against him. So you're still kind of picking if you're going to be a hero or a villain, which I do think is a pretty cool option. Now, after figuring out what faction you will be in, you will need to pick what your origin is. By that I mean how you gained your strength. The options are science, mutation, magic, technology, and natural. These options don't really have much of an effect when it comes to your strength in game, and it's mostly used for immersion and role-playing purposes. For example, let's say you're a pink BDSM spider. How did you become that? Was it through science or mutation, magic, or technology? It obviously wouldn't be natural, so you wouldn't pick that option. That is, of course, if you actually care about the role-playing aspect of it. Now, even though it's mostly used for role-playing and immersion purposes and not to increase your character's strength, this will affect how certain NPCs react towards you, which I also thought was pretty cool. For example, certain mobs may hate those with a magic origin, so if you pick that option, then those NPCs will act more aggressive towards you. Alright, let's move on to the classes that they don't actually call classes. They call them playstyles, and the options are tank, melee damage, range damage, crowd control, support, and pets. I feel like the names of these playstyles are self-explanatory, so I don't think there's much explanation that I need to do here, unless...
You are really dumb, for real.
Now, after picking your playstyle, you will pick your archetype, and then your powers. Depending on what archetype you pick will also affect your options for your powers. Now, this is where I fucked up. You see, when it comes to MMOs, especially older ones, I tend to become a bit retarded, and I forget how to read.
I'm retarded?
Well, not really forget, since I read all the time. I mean, the last book I read was called Taken by the T-Rex. By the way, it's a great read if you're interested in finding a good book. But when it comes to MMOs, I tend to just click all the options as fast as possible to try and get into the game quickly, which is what I did in this game. And that was not a good thing, not at all, since I fucked up my powers. And later on, I definitely found out that it was kind of important to slow down at this point and actually read words. So yeah, don't be like me. Unless you can't actually read, then you're just shit out of luck. Now, after spending probably like 30 minutes picking your origin, then playstyle, then archetype and powers, you can finally move on to your character's body. Here you have 3 options. You have the male, the female, and the huge, which is basically just a bodybuilder on roids. Now, each one of these body types also has 4 different body presets that you can also choose from. Those being slim, average, athletic, and heavy. Now, you don't have to pick any of these secondary body presets. You can just move the sliders yourself, like your chest, which is all that really matters here.
Damn, look at them titties!
Now, for my character, I picked Villain, and my playstyle was Pets. because I really like the goth mommy image that they use to represent it, for two big reasons.
Nice.
Now for my archetype, I chose Dominator, since I thought that made sense based on the playstyle I picked, and nothing else. Then for my primary powers, I chose Darkness Control and Dark Grasp. And for my secondary powers, I chose Dark Assault and Smite. Now, my body type was of course female, and I increased every single slider all the way to as much as I could, including the chest, and then lowered her waist as much as I could. Now the costume portion of the character creator is where you will probably spend most of your time in, because holy shit, is there a lot of options. Like a lot. And you can even mix and match outfits if you want. This many options really allows you to create something unique, and you and your buddies can come out looking ridiculous like the heroes from Mystery Men if you want to. I mean, I ran into so many different looking heroes and villains, and I almost never ran into someone that looked like someone else. I saw a blue gnome, a buff demon, a bull-faced man, a dog-faced man, a small robot toy thing, a furry, a pirate, a generic superhero, a pink BDSM Spider-Woman, fucking Saitama from One Punch Man, a We Have Green Arrow at Home. I saw Iron Man's retarded cousin, Aluminum Man, a Super Saiyan that looks like a bootleg Dragon Ball Z toy that you would only find at a flea market stall ran by a short fat Mexican guy named Jose Luis, or in the back of my 99 Plus store right next to the overpriced fake Pokemon cards is ran by an Asian family. And whatever the fuck this thing is, you can truly spend hours mixing and matching outfits in this character creator. I mean, you can even change the color of your spells. Now I think you can see why I said that you can kind of pick your race in the character creator, because with all these options, you can make your character look like a different race if you want to. Now to me, this is one of those S-tier character creators that have almost gone extinct and you only tend to see in older MMOs. Now I made my character very simple. I just gave her barbarian armor and this cape thing, and some high heels, and then followed it up with a fitting name. Alright, well, that took way longer to explain than I had originally planned. So let's move on to my experience.
Oh my god! What is that?
I don't know, but it's kind of hot.
Now, I decided to skip the tutorial like a dumbass, so it dropped me in the villain starting zone, which is in Rogue Isles, but more specifically in Mercy Island, and is also part of the many islands ruled by evil organizations. Now, my first impressions of Mercy Island is how dark it is, and it doesn't get any brighter. And I get it, they're trying to build an evil atmosphere. They're trying to make this place look like a shithole that no one wants to live in, and they did do a good job at making it feel that way, especially when you see all the NPCs doing crazy stuff in the city, like being racist towards snakes and getting into gunfights with police while missing every shot, as well as NPCs spray painting walls. They even have this guy throwing up in this corner after probably taking a leak. All these things that you see really does help build the atmosphere that this is a crappy place to be in, and I actually enjoyed running around discovering all these things. Now the second thing I noticed was the UI, because it confused the fuck out of me for a good while. It actually took me a few minutes to find the game settings, so that I can adjust the volume. And it turns out that instead of placing it at the bottom right, like every MMO I have ever known, they have it at the top right above your health bar. I mean, it did also take me a while to figure out that this game actually has a mini-map since the game does not have you start with one. It's something that you have to turn on. Now even though it took me a little bit to get used to this UI, I actually grew to love it more and more. And just like every new MMO now, you can move around the UI and place them in your preferred location. And you can also completely remove them, which I really liked. I wish more MMOs allowed you to disable things that you didn't want. Now, the quests in this game are called missions, and in order to do missions, you need to find a contract. These are easy to locate. All you need to do is click on the contract right under the compass and click Find Contract. It will set a navigation waypoint on the compass that will take you to that contract. Sometimes it will even let you teleport directly to them. So me and my buddy started knocking down some of these missions together. Now the missions in City of Heroes are your typical classic MMO quests. You have the missions that will have you kill X amount of mobs, the ones that will make you retrieve specific items. They even have the escort missions. And since it's a superhero / villain MMO, they also give you missions that are specific to the alignment you picked. For example, if you're a hero, you may get a mission to stop a bank robbery and fight villains. But if you're a villain, you'll get a mission to rob a bank and or cause destruction. Now one of the mission types that I don't like is the escort missions. Not because the NPCs are slow at following you, even though they are, but it makes sense since, you know, they're normal humans and you're a superpowered being. So, of course, they're not going to be able to move faster than you, but the reason why it's annoying is because the NPCs get stuck all the damn time. They tend to want to follow the path that you took instead of taking the path that they can take. And of course, since you're running faster than they are, there will be many times where you have to stop and wait for them so that they can catch up, because if you don't, they will lose you and stop following. Now, even these escort missions were nowhere near as bad as the old WoW escort quest, since those sometimes took 30 minutes or more to complete. Now, the missions I really disliked were the kill all missions. The reason for that was because the mobs inside the kill area were all spread out, and there were sometimes even 3 to 4 floors that you had to go through in order to complete the mission. And they also love to hide mobs in hidden rooms, so there will be times where you will miss one and you will be forced to run around in each floor again to search for them. Some of these missions have taken me almost an hour to finish. That, of course, was also due to how shitty my abilities were, since I, of course, did not bother to read what they did when I picked them. So it took me way longer to kill things because of it. Now, while completing mission after mission, I finally leveled enough to gain a flying ability. You can get this a lot sooner than I did, but I had no idea because again, I just click around quickly and don't pay attention. But as soon as I got flying, this is when the game felt more like a superhero game to me. While flying around, I would actually get lost in thought, and I would even forget what I was doing at times. It was almost like I was in a trance, and I didn't know why, but it was a 10 out of 10 flying experience. Would sniff. Fly again. Oh, and they do give you a jetpack, so if you don't want to pick flying, you don't have to. Now, while doing missions and killing mobs, they have a chance to drop inspirations, enhancements, recipes, and salvage items for those recipes. Inspirations are basically like potions that you can use when you need them during combat, and to help you recover your endurance. Now, enhancements are what you would use to increase the power of your skill. You can even combine them to make them stronger, but you can only use the ones that work for you. So most of the enhancements you get from drops are probably not going to be useful for you. But with the recipes and salvaged items, you should be able to craft the ones you can use. All you need to do is go to a crafting bench. There are a few in the universities. And if you're missing mats, all you need to do is type /AH in chat, and the auction house should pop up. That way you can sell what you don't need and buy what you do. Now, after questing more and more, the missions in this game started reminding me more and more of Blade and Soul. Not because they're similar, not at all, but because in Blade and Soul, almost every quest involves you going into a cave to complete it. And in City of Heroes, almost all the missions involves you going into a building of some kind. And I also started noticing how often they reuse the assets for the interior of these buildings. Like every lab you go into looks the same, but with a different layout. At least that's the case early on. But the mobs do change over time. They go from human to eventually monster-like mobs, like these slime-looking mobs that bust all over you when you kill them.
I'm gonna come.
Now, I wanted to keep experiencing the leveling before I decided to try any of the dungeon stuff, so I decided to get to level 20 first before I experienced any of that. And in order to get to level 20 quickly, I decided to use the pay-to-win vendor at around level 10, which is a free vendor that any side can use to get some free power-ups, like some free enhancements that you can purchase for your spells. And the most important part, the double XP buff, which stacks up to 8 times, giving you 8 hours of double XP. Now, this vendor actually took me forever to find, because all the information I was getting from websites was for the hero version of the vendor, and one of the reasons why I could not find it was because they would constantly call it the pay to win vendor, but it's called the fucking start vendor. So I shit you not, I flew around for over an hour looking for this bitch. Luckily, after an hour and 30 minutes, I found it. Then I went to bed, but the next day I grinded out the next 10 levels that I needed. And when I was grinding out these levels, I noticed that the NPCs will mention your name as you pass by them, or while questing, and they would even talk shit.
Stop, Big Mommy Milkers.
Big Mommy Milkers did bring the rocket pack here. Our source was right again.
I heard Big Mommy Milkers fought off a pack of Arachno's ghosts.
I heard you got spanked last week. Better luck next time.
Your mom addressed you this morning.
Let me guess. They call you Dark something.
Which I thought was a nice touch. Now, unfortunately, because I fucked up my abilities, because I did not read, it still took me a while since I can't kill shit quickly. Now, after hitting level 20, it was already kind of late, but I still wanted to try and find a group, so I went to a neutral zone called Ouroboros. A lot of people would hang out here, and I waited and waited, but every person I would try to join would tell me the same thing. It's for blue, meaning for the heroes. That's when I realized that there was no way I was going to be able to find a group as a villain. I mean, I should have known that, especially since my friend sent me an image of how crazy the disparity is between heroes and villains in City of Heroes, so I had a decision to make. Whether or not I will swap to hero or just keep leveling as a villain. But before that, I asked this question in chat.
Where the ERP at?
The what?
Don't ask.
That's an everlasting. We don't do that here.
This was not the answer I wanted to hear. Turns out, I had joined the wrong server, because although it was the most populated, it was not the most fun. Not in my mind at least. So that's when I decided to join the ERP server, Everlasting, as a hero. Now I'm going to skip a lot of details because, well, I fucked up. You see, when making my character, I did not pick hero like I thought I did. It was actually going rogue, aka the gold side. I did not know this till I hit level 10 and I was trying to get into a group. So, of course, I was disappointed. But I told myself, maybe the ERP is going to be really good. And I was going to find myself a nice, super hot hero GF and do some super scissoring together. Well, after heading to what I thought was the ERP hub called Pocket D, I was even more disappointed. Because there was no goddamn ERP happening at all. So I switched for nothing. Well, at least the starting zone has these robots with unreasonably large boobs hanging around that you can stare at. Now, after this, I did find out that you can go to the club that no ERP happens in, and find a talking bird that's on top of a box truck inside of the club. If you talk to him, there should be an option that you can pick that would allow you to change your faction. But since I can't seem to stop taking L's at this point, I was unable to change my level 13 at the time to the hero side, even though the internet told me that I could. I don't know, maybe it doesn't work for the gold side, but I did eventually find out that you can change your faction when you're level 20. So I decided since there is no roleplay of the erotic kind on this server, I swapped back to my level 20 Big Titty Goth GF and changed her to the hero side, so I can finally experience some raids and dungeons. So that's exactly what I did. As soon as I switched to hero, I went to the hero starting zone, Atlas Park, and man, is it so much better than the villain side. One of the main reasons for that is because you're actually able to see stuff. It's not just all dark. It was also nice seeing a lot of the people hanging out in one location that's not a neutral zone. Now I eventually joined an MSR raid. I had no idea what this was, but all I knew is that anyone at any level could join it. So I did. And I believe MSR stands for Mothership Raid? I think. Now in this raid, you're basically just flying around in a large group fighting aliens. These mobs actually remind me of the War of the Worlds alien ship things that they pilot. Now after killing a bunch of these guys, you eventually knock down the mothership shield and you fight mobs on it. And I will say that it was laggy as shit, and I died a lot. But that made sense since I was level 20 and the mobs were level 54 elites. So I was pretty much just getting one shot every time they hit me. Now this part of the raid did take a while, and it's not very entertaining. But people know this. That's why the host was also doing a trivia during this in chat, and offering rewards for those that won, like gold, or in this case, influence. I, of course, did not win shit because
I'm kind of retarded.
Now, when the raid was over, I did feel like I wasted my time a bit, because I did not feel like I gained anything for doing this raid. I didn't really get any XP at all, but I'm sure they're worth it for higher level players. But as a level 20, it just didn't feel like I did anything. Who knows, maybe I did get something for it that's worth it for lower levels to run it, but it was a cool raid and I'm glad I experienced it. Anyways, I then did DFB, which stands for Death from Below. It's a dungeon you run as a low level to farm out XP while using the double XP buff. Most people, when making a new character now, will just spam these for a while until they hit level 15 or something. Then they move on to something else. But I did them for the first time at level 20, and it did shrink my level down to match everyone else when I did it. Now I will say that I actually enjoyed doing this. It took like 13 minutes to complete and it was actually fun to do. But since I was level 20 when I first ran it, I of course did not get many levels. But I did almost get one level increase from that 13-minute run, which still seems worth it to me, even at the level that I was at. Because it would have taken me way longer than 13 minutes to get that amount of XP if I quested normally. Now that's where I kind of ended my journey on this game. And the reason for that is because I want to make videos for other MMOs. And if I keep playing this game, that's never going to happen. But I will say this, after playing this game for a little while, I now understand why people love this game. And why people continue to love this game. Now I understand why I have only heard good things about it. And I highly recommend you play it, especially if you have never played it before and you like superhero stuff. The game is just fun to play, and it helps that the players in this game are friendly. I have not had a bad experience talking to anyone. The only downside to this game, to me at least, is that you have to read. Well, that is if you don't want to fuck up your skills like I did. So do yourself a favor and read a bit. I know it sucks, but you'll thank me later. Alright, well, that's it for now, guys. Let me know down below what you think of whatever the hell this was, and don't forget to leave a like. It would really help me out. Till next time, peace.